Now, a heated exchange has unfolded at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry between the Commission's chairperson, Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga, and Advocate Rafiq Bana, who represents businessman Suleiman Karim. The Commission's investigating allegations of corruption and interference in South Africa's criminal justice system. Madlanga criticised Bana's conduct, describing it as an unprofessional manner. But, of course, let's take you now live to the Commission, where my colleague Canny Maphanga is listening. Let's listen in.
Our part as the Commission, and I think as has been apparent from the Commission led by Justice Madlanga, his co-commissioners, and the entire team, we are squarely focused on the job at hand, and we are not going to be distracted by anything.
Jeremy, Canny from SABC News. I just want to talk a bit about the overriding issue that's being highlighted here. Phase 2 is obviously a bit more adversarial, and you're going to have witnesses that want to know everything that is up against them in a reasonable time frame. You're having a number of witnesses beyond Suleiman Karim that are raising issues of prejudice and fairness, and no matter what the position is on that witness, that it has to be accepted that the witness also has those rights that must be afforded to them. And to hand a document in at 6 a.m. I mean, what was the Commission expecting following that particular move? And how could you not expect the lawyers to now bring up this issue of a postponement yet again when they're getting the information in drips and drabs and they have to consult with their clients and prepare them to defend themselves before this Commission? Should the Commission not also take a bit of responsibility in the manner in which these Phase 2 implicated persons who are already on the defense are being handled in terms of the evidence that is going to be used against him in this particular probe? What does the Commission have to say about its own conduct?
Well, Canny, I think we all know, as this process has been unfolding, that it's a dynamic process. I think Advocate Chaskolson, who is the chief evidence leader, has explained not only today and yesterday, but on numerous occasions, that there are ongoing investigations. That the investigators and therefore the legal team are on a daily, if not an hourly basis, making new discoveries. And so, as he was explaining, he was up very early this morning. Between 5 and 6 a.m., he shared with the Commission and the witnesses' legal team that he made discoveries, early in the morning, and passed that on to them, by way of a spreadsheet that he, under oath, shared that he had drawn up that spreadsheet between 5 and 6 this morning. And so I guess the point is that you have a very dynamic inquiry underway. The investigation is ongoing, and it is throwing up evidence that needs to be explained, and it must be put to the witness. And so to your issue of fairness, of course, it is the job of Justice Madlanga and his co-commissioners to ensure that all witnesses are treated fairly. And to that extent, every time an issue arises, however time-consuming it is dealt with patience, fairly, all factors considered, and then a decision is made in the interests of justice, in the interests of the process, but also with due fairness and with due regard to the rights of the witness. And so, yes, I think there are obviously going to be issues with Mr. Karim, and I don't want to say too much. Mr. Karim is on the stand, but it is a live example. Last Friday, we spent more than 6 hours engaging on whether his application to be heard whether his testimony is to be heard in camera. That went on for all of last Friday. And so I think it should be clear that regardless of the time pressures, at that point we didn't have an extension yet. We do now from the President, from the statement issued by the President yesterday. But the Commission has been under huge pressure. And I think Justice Madlanga has also spoken to that, to say that we don't have the luxury of time. Even with the extension, we are under huge pressure because there's a lot to get through, and I'm sure we will get to that.
I was about to ask that question. Given the extension right now, are you optimistic that you will cover all witnesses? I mean, you still need to touch on TMPD, JMPD, and other witnesses who've written to you to say they want to come before the Commission. Are you going to be listening to their pleas as well to say they want to testify before the Commission?
Yeah, thanks, Pule. I think firstly we want to welcome the announcement by the President, President Ramaphosa, of course, yesterday having announced that the Commission's term has been extended, and he is expecting the final report on 31 August. Having said that, and we have said consistently over the last few weeks and months actually, that the Commission has a very long list of witnesses to get through. As you say, in phase one, of course, and again as a reminder for viewers and listeners, phase one heard all the allegations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and 28 other witnesses who followed, tabling and placing under oath the allegations of wrongdoing. Now, in that process in phase one, there were many individuals implicated, and in phase two, which started at the end of last year, phase two then sees all those implicated individuals coming to account, to answer to the allegations, to tell their side of the story, and also to assist the Commission in the inquiry and assisting the Commission with doing its work. So I think very clearly there is a lot that we need to get through as the Commission. We are very conscious of the long list of witnesses that we need to work through, and we still need to get to phase three, where Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and others have to come back to the Commission. In addition to that, the Commission must also table an interim report, which is time-consuming, and then, of course, the final report by 31 August.
So, Jeremy, when do you envisage concluding with phase two? Because, as Pule has mentioned, part of the terms of reference include the Tshwane and Johannesburg Metro Police Departments, which in my mind is almost a phase one kind of testimony, because allegations need to be laid down and then you get responses. The second interim report is due on the 29th of May this year. I know there's a lot of scheduling considerations that are usually made, but the speed with which you're going to do this to allow time for phase three to also be fully ventilated?
Well, Zianda, we are now on day 74. To date, I checked a little earlier, this is the 50th witness who's on the stand. And clearly, the scheduling considerations, we are now working with the deadline that we have been given. We are working out very carefully the program, the schedule for the next few months. So I'll be able to give you a more conclusive answer once we have done that work over the next few days. But in any event, when we started this year, we were pretty clear about what we needed to do, what we needed to get through, how much time was going to be required. And of course, now we have our final deadline, 31 August. So we will be working backwards to ensure that we meet that deadline. And of course, keep in mind that there are all kinds of issues that come up on a daily basis. So we also have to factor in those delays, whether it is legal arguments, witnesses falling ill, and all those issues that we've seen over the last few weeks.
Just lastly from me, at this point in time, will you break for recess? Is the Commission considering that being part of your calendar?
Yes, obviously we do need to take into account the fact that there are dozens, in fact there's more than 100 people on duty at the Commission every day. And those people have lives, they have families, and so all the usual labor considerations have to be factored into our scheduling. And so certainly the Commission will have to take, Easter's coming up, for example. There's the usual Easter break, obviously. So, yeah, we will make clear through yourselves and to the public, you know, when the Commission plans to take a break. But we are pushing full steam ahead with the work, the very full workload that we have on our plates to ensure that we meet the deadline.
Yet.
No, not yet.
All right, thank you very much. Well, there you have it. Jeremy Michaels, the spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission, responding to the various clashes that we've seen manifest before the Madlanga Commission, specifically between Suleiman Karim's legal team and, of course, the Commission, whether it is the evidence leaders or Justice Madlanga, who took issue with the comment of, quote-unquote, prejudging the issue that was withdrawn by Suleiman Karim's lawyer, that is Advocate Bana SC. Of course, what you're seeing now is a great test being put to Suleiman Karim on the extent of the relationship with the alleged tender kingpin, that is Morgan Maumela. And of course, that evidence is going to lead you to whether or not these particular transactions allegedly form part of a greater tender syndicate or alleged fraud operating within the country. All that and more at 2 p.m. It's over to you, Mfundo.
Very well, SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga there giving us an update of what came out of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And of course, the Commission spokesperson briefing the media saying the focus is on the job at hand and really emphasizing the issue of prejudice and fairness as the Commission resumes its work in the next hour.